Hello, I'm Dr. Gurung. I'm a consultant psychiatrist. Today, while coming to my work, I was listening to an interesting podcast on leadership, the type of leadership which will be relevant in the coming years. While listening to this podcast, I got a chance to reflect some of the things which I am currently doing in my work. As a leader, I manage inpatient unit as well as memory clinic. I also take a lot of responsibility of managing at least 53 doctors, resident doctors, as a site tutor. I'm also assigned as a clinical education supervisor. So while listening to this podcast, it helped me to reflect and analyze some of the skills that I use in my leadership, and it also gave me a chance to do an autopsy of my own practice of my own leadership. So there were a couple of things that I want to reflect and share my opinion on it. One of the things I've reflected is the world is very volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguity. Um, it is accelerated by, let us say, geopolitics, climate shift, and hybrid work ethic. So the concept of being an absolute hero leader is no more there. Now the paradigm of the leadership have changed, and now the current interesting term that they have used is host leadership, which is able to cultivate collective intelligence. This is a type of leadership which is very popular in the current present world, as well as I hope that this will be quite popular in a coming future. To analyze that, I've divided my thought and my reflection on leadership on four different categories. So let us just focus on number one category, which I feel is very important, which is cognitive strategy quality. That means the leadership who is able to think how they think is important. So in this, there are three qualities which I think is very important. Number one is adaptability, uh, and thinking agility. This is very important. So in this ability, one of the things as a leader we need to do is we need to enhance the skills of ability to unlearn and relearn. We should be able to think in terms of hypothesis, not law, and we need to build up the habit of asking questions. So questions helps us to create a new reality. In the past, smart people were rewarded for knowledge, but if you look at the current world, knowledge is available throughout. Like you can access through, let us say, AI, GP chat, Google. So the knowledge are everywhere, but the thing that is lacking is how to analyze those knowledge in a practical world. That is the thing that is lacking. Now the second thing is you also need to think in a systemic thinking. That means deeply interconnected. That means you have to see beyond to understand like the second and the third consequences of your thinking pattern. Uh, so you also have to think in terms of logistic, geopolitics, climate, human rights, and the ecosystem when you are making a plan. So this is systemic thinking. Now, the third thing which you also need to be aware in the cognitive thinking is digital and data literacy without dehumanization. That means that you have to think beyond the capability and limitation of AI or data. That means your ability to process, to differentiate, to know when to trust the algorithm and when to override the human judgment. So this is the quality that is needed. So in number one, if you are thinking of cognitive and strategic quality, how to think, the three things that you need to be aware is adaptability, thinking, cognitive resiliency. Second is systemic thinking. Third is digital and data literacy without dehumanization. So this is very important. So this is which I've categorized in number one part. Now the number two thing that we need to be aware is human and emotional qualities. That is how they connect. So in this, I've also divided into three groups. Number one is radical empathy and active listening. Now we also need to think that in the current climate, the generation is divided from boomers to, let us say, Gen Z, or now the new term is Gen Alpha. So there's a lot of cultural clash. Empathy is no more soft. It is more executive. So the leader needs to actively listen to understand the unspoken fear, motivation of the team to unlock the district effort. So in the radical empathy, there's a pattern recognition, the unspoken law. So these are some of the skills that you need to enhance. Number two is we also need to be aware of vulnerability and authenticity. That means that in our current climate, the information is saturated in this world. The polish, so even the information that they are, it's very difficult whether to trust them or not trust them. So the leader should admit the things that they don't know, their own learning struggles, admit the mistakes, build psychological safety. So this also provides a permission for others to innovate without the fear of failures. So the vulnerability and authenticity is also some of the character that we need to enhance. Now coming to inclusive collaboration. Now the new term which we are hearing more often is something called diversity is given inclusiveness as a choice. So by incorporating that, we are also pulling we are pulling the opinions of unconventional voices in the room. If everyone agrees, we are there's a problem that there's a problem of redundancy and not resilience being built. So we need to foster an environment where this culture of diversity, inclusiveness, and unheard voice needs to be given a chance to raise it. Now, the second point which I've raised is human and emotional quality. So, the three things that you need to enhance is radical empathy, vulnerability and authenticity, inclusiveness with collaboration. Now, the third thing is, we also need to be aware of actions and executive quality. This is how to lead. Decision agility. Uh, in the current climate, what I've seen is even people who have got a lot of ability, they overanalyze and they become paralyzed. So the principle that I follow is 70% of information is enough for you to execute, and you learn through the process of an execution. The second is resilience and energy maintenance. Uh, Change is exhausting. So the leader's job is to manage their own nervous system, to regulate the team. So in order to that, some of the priorities that you have to do is space, recovery, and optimization, and to remove the toxic positivity. And you need to think in a pragmatic way. So saving energy is also very important. Now the crisis communication. Crisis communication is a lot of the people are too afraid to have a difficult conversation. A lot of the leaders find it difficult to communicate the things which is a bit ambiguous. So as a leader, we also need to have a gut to interpret, and sometimes silence is misinterpreted. But in communication, transparency, listening, frequent with a clear what, so what, and how what, and to have a better clear picture helps to resolve a lot of the things. Now, in the third thing that I have advocated is in action and agility, execution quality. The three things that you need to know is decision agility, resilience, energy management, and crisis management. Now, the last bit is how to cultivate this mindset. So, in order to cultivate this mindset, some of the things that we need to practice is as a new leader, we need to learn the skills of to disrupt our own business model if it is not helping, disrupt the authority, balance the multi share interest, coaching and remove the bottlenecks, view the failure as a feedback. So these are some of the qualities that we need to enhance. Now in the bottom line, what we need to make sure is in order to make a change, we have to keep in mind the loudest voice is not always uh, right. So the things that we need to foster is RQ, which is relationship quality and adaptability quality. These are some of the skills that will really help us to survive in the modern world. Now, I've spoken almost like 9 minutes. Just to summarize the things that which I've said in a 9 minutes in a very simple term. When you're talking about leadership, we need to have four skills. Number one is cognitive and strategy quality. For that, we need to have adaptive thinking, cognitive agility, systemic thinking, digital literacy. Number two is something called emotional and human quality. For that to connect, we need to have radical empathy, vulnerability, authenticity, inclusive collaboration. And the third is to have an action or executive quality. We need to have decisive agility, resilience, and energetic management, and crisis communication. And overarching in the mindset, there are certain things that we need to cultivate to disrupt our own business, to disrupt authority, balance multitask interest, and to coach our team properly, make maker and the system to create, to remove the bottleneck, and to view the failure as a feedback. So these are some of the quality that will really enhance our leadership moving forward. Thank you.